Jackie, we love to see that. We love to see that, right, Jackie? His name's Lee, goddammit. So Jackie, kick door now. Jackie again. Yes, sir, we are back as we proceed to give you what you need. It's 9-5, another episode of the 95 Plus podcast. This is Anthony Ragler, a.k.a. Dreadhead in the lobby, not Chance the Rapper, more like Probability the Poet, and I am here. I'm here with our co-host, the man himself, Mr. Sexy Foam himself, Lem Butler. How you doing today, my dog?
I'm doing good. What's up, y'all? What's up,
We're
man?
chilling. DJ Pez, right? DJ Pez?
DJ Pez.
Yo, I'm going to have this intro jumping, I promise you.
I like it. 9-5, mother.
Yo, come on. Come on. If you know, you know, man. Who shot you, man? We rock it.
Yo, that was one of my, one of my go-tos back in the DJ days. You know what I'm saying? Just drop that. Catch just losing. I mean, anything from Biggie back then, you know.
See, I was a scoundrel. So in my my iTunes DJ days when I had to DJ the house party, stuff like that. My DJ name was DJ Late Night because you know he was playing. I was outside in summer 2013. That was when I started being outside, and that was when like Body Party by Sierra dropped. So we had some things we had to do. We had some things we was focusing on.
Brooklyn.
But hey man, it was a good time, bro. Like summer 2013, I was doing poetry, was touring. I was young, just doing nothing but making terrible mistakes. But it was a fun time, man. We was outside living, man. Are you familiar with the Last Poets?
Yeah, man.
Dog,
yeah, that was played around the clock in my house growing up. Yeah.
So one of the Abio Dune's son, I used to be really cool with him. I'm not anymore. I hope this don't go nowhere. But whatever. I don't really rock with dude. But at that time we were really cool. And Abio Dune hosted a open house every Sunday at his crib in Harlem.
Oh, word.
So like all of the poets, the musicians, whatever, we'd go over there and workshop our work over there. We'd perform like just on the couch in front of a group of people. We just rock out, let people give us feedback, and that's how we like got our work finished. So we would always go over there. But all of us that was around like my age, like the 18 to 21 group, we would just stay the night once everything was done because it was our homeboy's crib. Man,
things got wild, huh?
DJ Late Night is here for a reason, man. I'm telling you, that was a good time. It was a good time.
I did something similar. Back in the day, I used to own a music and video store called Lost City, and on Fridays we would clear the floor of the merchandise, and we would invite poets. We'd invite MCs.
Was that out here or was that Boston?
It was in Chapel Hill.
Oh, Chapel Hill, okay.
It was Chapel Hill.
Yo, the Chapel Hill, not even Chapel Hill, but the North Carolina art scene is big. Like Asheville's crazy.
Yeah, it's not
Charlotte,
as big as like, Brooklyn, but
I mean, it's not as big as Brooklyn per capita, but like now y'all got some people
dope.
like G Yamazawa. Like so fun fact, G Yamazawa, he beat me in 2014 National Poetry Slam. I came in second on the team that I was on, and I was with some dogs. G was on the team from DC that won it. He had this piece called Elementary. I'm gonna send it to you. Yo, he's tough, bro.
Word.
And like G was like my dog back when I was still there. So like when I came out here and found out that he was like one of the people you really liked as a rapper, I'm like, yo, that's my homie. His partner Chris moved out, so they back out here now too.
I saw that.
They moved from Cali
his
back
parents
out.
Sold their, or they closed their restaurant.
Yeah. So like he back out in the Triangle, like. That's people's like I haven't seen him in years, but like I feel like if I run into him, like we probably like catch up like no time has passed because he was a dog.
It's a small triangle. You might.
At some point, I'm still trying to run into Petey Pablo. That's really why I moved here.
Go hang out
to
the goat. Go to the goat, man.
Hey man,
Raleigh, man.
Let me know when you try and go because I'm trying.
Sundays, dollar international, dollar beers. So all international and domestic beers are just a buck.
I'm sure I got about $3-4. We could do that. Hey man,
word.
Welcome back. Another episode of 95 Plus podcast, man. We've been having some fun. As you can see, we're now implementing video into our episodes. So you're going to see us once again, Spotify, iTunes, all that stuff. But
Trying
we're
to
also
elevate, you know.
Yeah, we're trying to elevate. We're
take
gonna put it on
another
YouTube.
level, you know?
We're gonna make sure that you get to see us a little bit more, see kind of how the interactions in the room goes. You guys already got the Nigel interview, so you're gonna see a little bit more like stuff like this, us talking with some more people. And for all y'all out there that want to be a part of this, you got a business out there, you got some bread, because right now, we're recording in a warehouse. We would love to be able to take this to another level. So if you got some sponsorships and partnerships that y'all want to do, come holler at us.
Yeah,
talk to us.
Yeah.
We take Cash App, Zelle, food stamps, WIC checks, EBT cards. We got all that. Like, just come talk to us. We'll figure it out, and you can be up here with us too. 95 plus.
Man.
What's the plus?
Not
Whatever
the
y'all
WIC
want to add in.
Not the WIC checks.
Hey man, I remember this one cafe. Some dude came in and asked. This is back when my cafe was cash only. Like my very first cafe was cash only for like the first year and a half I was there. And dude was like, yo, y'all take credit? I was like, nah, but I take Chuck E. Cheese coins. I can get a shaking. Yo, you give me 25 of those. I'm walking out with a PlayStation before the night's over. Like, I promise you.
Are there any cafes out there that take food stamps?
Hell no. No, but the finesse though, is the corner stores take food stamps.
Yeah.
But the trick is you can only order cold food, like prepared cold food.
Really?
With food stamps.
Why is that?
I really don't know the reason behind it, but the hustlers, like, you can get your hot sandwiches on food stamp card, because they're just like, yo, don't say nothing.
Yeah, right.
So, you know what I mean? When I had food stamps, like right after my daughter was born, boy, them Philly cheesesteaks was hitting. Them chopped cheeses hitting. We was moving.
Yo, so when I was in school, man, so I grew up, we had food stamps. And back then, there wasn't no card.
It was the actual book, right?
Yeah, the book.
With the
bills.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Different colors for different things.
Yep. Like, I think the ones were like brown. The fives were green or something like that. And then there was like the red ones or something. But, as a full-time student, you're allowed to get food stamps. But, growing up with them, I was so embarrassed by them that I was like, you know what? I'm just going to eat pizza and ramen every night.
Yeah.
Before I go back.
Yo, that I remember that feeling, be like, dang, like this is going to feel weird. But then you think about it and you like, yo, it might feel weird, but like that's a couple extra $100 a month in my pocket.
I could have had my fridge stocked.
I could have been good,
I could have had my fridge in my dorm stocked.
Yeah,
but nah.
So all that to say, y'all, we know what it's like to be broke. We still kind of, you know what I mean? We ain't quite there yet, but we getting better at it. Shout out to my dog Petey Pablo. But like seriously, like, if you
maybe
want
all the cafes out there, maybe you should start investing in taking food stamps from folks.
Yo,
that
bro,
all food stamp cafe.
Whole
that'd be dope.
Hood to get fucked up. Hood be fucked up. What? Yeah, let me get that caramel frap. I got that EBT tonight.
Yes,
you know what I mean? That
yeah.
Yo, I seen somebody one time call it a BET card.
Tears. BET card.
Like instead of the EBT card, they go to the BET card, but I was in tears.
That's messed up.
Oh man, yo, we ain't talking shit about coffee right now. But what's good, everybody, man?
What is good? Dude, what's going on in coffee? Oh, we got barista competitions coming up real fast.
We just stopped talking about competitions like 6 episodes ago.
Yep.
And they back. Like it's really a year-round sensation now. Yeah. Especially if you're in the coffee industry and you care about this, it's like a year-round sensation. So prelims are coming back.
Was there ever a time when you finished a season and you're like, yo, already got an idea for next season?
Oh, my first season, because I didn't do the idea that I had.
Oh, right on.
You remember, like, that Killmonger routine was marinating for 2 years before
sitting
I put any pen to paper.
Just sitting on the shelf.
I was sitting back like, I'm going to fry these motherfuckers with this. Like, I just knew, like, they told me it wasn't likable enough, but I know the theater art side of me. Like, I've watched.
So, RZA has so many tracks on the shelf.
Right.
And then he came out as what, Rakim. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We love you, Rakim.
So the thing is this. Like, one of the things that I really loved about my time in poetry, my time in theater and stuff like that, is watching how people find ways to make you connect to characters. Connect to characters, connect to performers on stage, ways to make you relate to them in a way where it starts to allow you to find some like humanity in them. When the Black Panther movie dropped, even though I didn't necessarily agree with it, there were a lot of people that felt like Killmonger's character actually wasn't a villain. So there was all these think pieces, all these dissertations, all these things where it's like, hey, like, let's actually like dissect what's going on with him, his mentality and all that. So for me, I was really excited to have the challenge of how do I present this topic in this way that is approachable, that people are going to get, but like humanizes this character, even though I'm not necessarily saying I agree with this character. I am just identifying for the sake of creating a through line. So I think what did it for me in competition at that time was that I was really like exercising creative muscles on top of trying to exercise these technical muscles of like whether or not I am a good competitive barista. So that entire time span of doing that routine and creating it really just became this thing where I got to force myself to become better in every aspect of who I was.
Yeah.
Simultaneously, like everything had to grow. It couldn't just be I could be a great barista and not a great performer or a great speaker or like someone that can like really piece logic together. I had to like do all of those things all at the same time, be factually correct, be precise, and then also like be good enough that I can make it to finals, because the goal was to make it to finals because you were the only black person that ever made it prior to myself. So it was like, I want to be able to do this, and if I do it properly, it's a message that people are going to want to hear and need to hear. How do I put this in front of as many people as possible? Whether I won and got to do it at Worlds was a different conversation, but at least on the U.S. scope, like getting to the finals of U.S. is the way that I can guarantee the most possible people get to see this, take something from it, and hopefully take this back to their local regions. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Almost like a huge symbolic moment of when Killmonger, got that vibranium.
Yeah.
And taking it back. And when he's in that museum, it's like, yo, y'all stole this. You know.
Now the crazy part is, it took a minute. I don't think a lot of people realize that the cosplay from Nashville and from the semis of nationals was the museum scene.
Yeah,
that was the outfit I was.
Yeah,
rocking,
that was the outfit. Yep.
And like, I was just like, this is the like it was chosen because it was the outfit that I could like do. No one figure out I was in cosplay until I started the routine.
Yeah.
Because remember, no one like audience wise had really seen this routine other than like the people that I bounced ideas off and like helped them like had helped me like make sure that it was accurate, make sure that it did the things I need to do competition wise. So walking in, I just look like I'm wearing, some black jeans, a denim jacket, and a white t-shirt.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I started the routine, I'm like, oh.
Now I get it. Yeah, okay.
That was the goal. And then once everybody knew, that's why finals, I was like, man, let me put the vest on, man. Let me get,
Yeah. And the coffee was a part of that.
Right.
So you selected that coffee specifically for that routine, or did the routine and the coffee just match?
Okay. So I've always said, and this is the first year that I broke this rule, and not ironically enough, it's the worst performance that I've had, like placement wise in competition. I always stuck to I'm going to do an African origin coffee, because from the very beginning of my decision to be in the coffee industry, it's been about black people. It has been about, I want to create spaces that are just as comfortable for us. Like if everybody else can come to a cafe, come there every single day, work here, bring their kids here, have meetings here, fellowship, so on and so forth, we as adult black people should have a space to feel this safe as well in these areas. Like there's no reason this shouldn't be accessible to us as well. So for me, it was like anything that I do that puts me on a platform, I want to be able to talk to and for my people, So selecting that coffee happened, one, because that was the parameters that I set in place before I had any samples sent to me from Kyle. And then two, what I've always done in my time of competition up until this year, is I always went, I'm picking the coffee that I like the most. My first aha moment with coffee was actually when I was working at Y Down. This is 2017, beginning of 2017. I had a sample from Passenger out in Pennsylvania. And they sent a bunch of samples to us. We had already been working with, but they were like helping us pick our next set of coffees for the menu. And they sent us this Long Miles from Burundi. And I had it. I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. Like, this is my first, like, oh, I get it now. All before, like, I like coffee by proximity. Like, it became a thing I was around so much that I found an appreciation for. But like, that was the first coffee that made me stop in my tracks. Like, y'all got one. Okay, cool. I understand. So I'm having a conversation with a regular of mine. I'm like, yo, I'm really excited about this coffee. I think we're going to bring it in. Like, you know, you do the thing where like you got a little bit of something back there. It's not really on the menu, but like, cause that's your people's, you'll hook them up. So I made it and we're having a conversation. And I'm like, oh, this is a Long Miles. This cafe that's actually close to where you live has a Long Miles Burundi as well. You should check them out. And at that point in time, my entire like coffee experience has been working. Like, I didn't really venture out to many cafes other than like what my coworkers brought me to in the spaces that like people brought me in. I also, during my time in New York, didn't feel the most like welcomed into a lot of other spaces because people didn't know like the cafe that I worked at.
Right.
So like I really didn't get many opportunities to kind of grow like I wanted to. So another thing that I didn't feel like I got was I didn't really have a home cafe that I didn't work at. So when they said this to me, I was in that space where I wanted to like find a home cafe. Like, hey, this is where I'm going to go and this is where I'm going to have my coffee. This is where I'm going to relax on my days off, so on and so forth. I went. It was like a mile and a half away from my crib. I walked to it. I had the Long Miles Burundi. It was absolutely phenomenal. Ironically enough, a couple weeks later, I got let go from Wydown. Ended up deciding to work at what would have been my neighborhood cafe. But I didn't understand coffee well enough yet at that point to understand how certain regions, certain processes affect flavors. I just knew that I liked this coffee, so I kind of just rocked with like that until I found something else I liked, and so on and so forth. And when I got to Counterculture a couple years later, and me and Sam are sitting there cupping through the catalog that Counterculture has out, I didn't get to pick like some crazy expensive coffee or anything, but I pick coffees that I like, and that's the end-all, be-all of my competition selection. So I picked the coffee that I liked. Turns out it's Brazier Gowinda, which is a honey-processed Burundian coffee.
Yeah. That's a great coffee.
So it's a great coffee, but now I've also had, like, this entire time that I'm preparing to compete, people tell me, you don't use Burundi coffees in competition. You don't use Burundi. You don't use Rwandan. No. And I'm like, man, them joints is good. What's up?
Yeah, they're great, but just rolling the dice, man.
But I didn't know. Eyes. I didn't understand it because I didn't know what potato defect was.
In a cafe setting, at your house, chilling, is great. But if you're being judged on specific flavor calls,
that's my first year. Yeah. So I'm not even. I don't even think dangerous. I'm adept enough to really understand what's happening. So we get to Kansas City. I make it to nationals. Right. My first round, dog. I was mad. So I had this routine that was really talking about code switching.
I remember that routine.
Being black in cafe settings, similar to what I did in 2020, but without saying the word black. Like I just really talked about like the way that we communicate to like people that come into our cafes. And I had this skit from Solange's A Seat at the Table album where Master P is talking. And I wanted to let that play. So it was like, 30 seconds of me not talking, let that play, and then get back into my routine, right? Some weird nonsense happened with the DJ. I feel like they opened like a Facebook video or something because like I heard like a gunshot go off and then like people screaming. And I'm like looking around like that's not in my playlist. What you doing? So they replay the Master P part. Right, so the Master P part played, the gunshot, weird stuff, all that stuff happened. Then they replayed the Master P part. So that took like another like minute and change out of like my routine while I'm like not talking.
You off.
Right. So I ended up like 30 seconds over time and I'm like, well, all right, I did what I could do.
Done deal. We're done.
Somehow I still made it to semis.
That coffee was fire, right?
Right. Yeah. So I'm like, I don't know what anybody talking about this whole Burundi thing because I'm like, man, like I just survived losing 30 points out of nowhere because I didn't know how to call a tech foul, any of that stuff, right? Second night comes, semifinals comes, I go up there, I do my routine. I feel like I smashed it. I felt like I was great. I didn't make finals. I'm like, whatever. I probably shouldn't. This is my first year. I don't really even know what I'm doing up here. Well, the next thing you do is before you even get your score sheets back, you get to see the paper that tells you where you placed. So I'm like, y'all placed 8th? Oh, I was cooking. Dang, I just missed it. Whatever. I'm thinking, all right, I'm just not experienced enough. Like I'm not ready to make finals, whatever.
But then those score sheets came back.
I get my score sheets back. Boy, I got ones. I got like ones in espresso, dog. Like they're like, yo, potato defect, screwed this cup up, screwed this cup up. I'm like,
Wagner, you know what a potato defect is?
We talked about it on the last episode, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. So like,
so hopefully everybody else out there knows.
Yeah. So
Google it.
But I'm sitting here like, wow, I got these terrible scores and I still came in 8th.
Yeah.
Oh, we could do something. But I bring that story up all to say, I don't like to hold on to like the coffee industries. Like it needs to be an expensive coffee. It needs to be super clear. Like I feel like a lot of people pay.
I think it's misconstrued though. Yeah. It's like, I think historically, well, first of all, in the competition, you want to call flavor calls that will guarantee to get you points because you want to call something that the judges are going to actually experience, right?
Right.
So when you taste a coffee, or when I taste a coffee, I want undeniable facts that it tastes like this, because coffees can vary depending on your water, depending on how it's roasted, whatever. Brewing it in one place versus the competition space.
Right.
So you want it to be as consistent as possible. And what I've found historically over the past few years is that those coffees that are very distinct in flavor calls tend to be expensive.
Yeah, but
and it's not to say that the less expensive coffees aren't great. There are some really fabulous coffees out there that won't blow your wallet, right? But you get that inconsistency when you are roasting it and brewing it, at home, and when you're brewing it in your practice space, and when you're brewing it at the competition space, which could be on the other side of the country. Water is different everywhere.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
And it plays a huge
but I do think
part
that
in coffee.
But I do think that for me, I have always been best at explaining what something is when I'm excited about it.
Yeah. That's a huge part of it too.
So like for me, it's less about picking the most like clear coffee in the sense of like what competition says, and more about like, how do I pick something that I can stand by? Like like when you work in cafes, or at least what I used to do when I managed cafes, is like my new hires are trying everything on the menu until they know it like the back of their hand.
Yeah.
So when a customer comes up and asks for a recommendation, you can be very clear. It like, here's what I like, here's what I don't like, here's what, based on what you told me, I think you may like. In
a perfect world, I would love to have every competitor at a cupping table of like 10 coffees, not know where they're from, not know how much they costed, and see what they pick, what they gravitate to, and then flip the card and see where it's from, see how much that coffee costs. I was actually
so
in
like
that
what prelims is,
quote unquote, like the prelims.
Yeah,
I was in that quote unquote perfect world in Panama.
Right.
I'd won 2016 U.S. Barista Championship with a coffee that was a year old. Jose Gallardo had just won Best of Panama in 2015. He came to Counterculture in Durham and never tasted his coffee as espresso. I met him for the first time when he walked into the training center and said, I never had my coffee as espresso. So here I am pulling shots of this really expensive Best of Panama winner. And I'm like super nervous because I didn't want to muck it up, you know. And we're tasting this espresso together, and it blew my mind. I always gravitate to coffees that I gravitate to their brightness and their sweetness. And this coffee had amazing sweetness. It had this beautiful lime acidity that I'd never tasted in coffee before. And I kind of tucked that information away. And then in 2016, after I qualified for U.S., Tim Hill was like, have you picked a coffee yet for nationals? And I said, no. He was like, well, I got some of that 2015 Best of Panama left over. And I was like, word, let's go for it. And I won the competition with a year-old coffee. And, Jose, he sends me a photo of his family around the computer watching me win with this coffee and talk about his family farm and how, he did this experiment of growing, geishas in Panama, and invited me down to, select coffees from his farm. And we went through and pulled 30 samples.
Right.
And he stayed up all night roasting these coffees for me. I offered to stay up with him. He's like, no, you sleep. I want you to have a great palate in the morning.
Right.
And at 6 a.m. when I woke up, he just finished his last roast. And we cut through 30 coffees. And I didn't know how much these coffees costed. I didn't know what section of the farms these coffees. Well, I knew a couple of them, what part of the farm they were from. But, I was in this perfect, quote unquote, perfect environment. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Tasting amazing coffees. And I picked, 4 to bring back to Durham and picked 1 to compete with. And it was something that really sung to me because, 1, I had this amazing experience in Panama with him and his family. I won the U.S. With this beautiful coffee. And what was really cool about winning with his coffee is, his family is indigenous, Cherokee in Panama. And I thought that was pretty dope because you have a lot of, transplants in Panama growing coffee, expats. So that was a really incredible, perfect environment to select the coffee for Worlds.
Yeah.
So when people are coming to me wanting me to coach them and they're like, what coffee should I pick? And I'm like, well, what sings to you? Because you're going to have to be spending months with this coffee.
Right.
You have to be excited about this coffee when you get on stage and present it to the judges. You have to be 100% stoked about what you're serving these judges, because if you're vibing on this coffee and giving out this positive energy, they're going to receive it, and you're going to do well in the competition.
No, I think that
whether it's expensive or not,
right? But that's my thing. Like, I think that we spend so much time focusing on what's the most objectively good coffee in the world. And I get it. There's a certain level of quality. There's a quality barrier that is just straight up a financial and skill gap. If you have access to this, you have a better shot within the spectrum of what people expect out of coffee to do well. The first year that I did that was the year that my espresso scored the lowest.
Mm.
And it was a coffee that I was very confident in and I thought tasted good, but I didn't get drawn to it the way that I did with even my coffee from qualifiers in Denver. My coffee in Denver, I picked it. I was like, okay, that sounds like a U coffee. We don't have that much information on it. Why don't we pick some other coffees, put those on the table next to it, in a couple of days, see if you still want it. Go to the table, blind cupping again, pick the same coffee. All right, we're gonna try it again. Another table, blind coffee. Blind cupping, pick the same coffee again. I did that maybe 4 or 5 times to the point where I knew pretty little about this coffee, which, and having the coffee information and being able to tell that narrative is really important to being able to do a good competition routine. And he's like, hey, I think this is going to hold you back. And I'm like, I'll figure it out because I'm excited about this coffee. And then we got back and I was like, okay, cool. Let's pick a coffee I have more information on. Let's pick a coffee that you believe is going to do better. I think that my skill set, I'll be able to still do well with it. And the reality of it is that was the thing that fell back on me. And I think not being excited in the same way, I grew excitement, but not being initially sparked by the coffee, I think really set me back into what I was able to do in that competition, because it's so hard for me to prioritize coffee over people and the things that I want to talk about, the things that I care about when it comes down to this industry, that I need the coffee to do such a jumpstart of exciting me about it, that I can also bring along that other side where it can be technically and fundamentally sound, but also something that I am ready to scream from the mountaintops, because then that's when you get the best performance out of me, the most accurate barista that no, I need this to come off like this so that you feel what I am feeling about this thing that I am talking about,
That's what I love about your presentations, because you choose the competition stage as a platform to deliver a message, to reach people. The actual coffee part is secondary.
Yeah.
But you still manage to play by the score sheets.
Right.
And you have to do that. A lot of people just look at YouTube videos and Instagram and they see, okay, this is how this person did it. I'm going to use this as my platform. And then they forget about the coffee part.
Right.
You can't forget about the coffee part. You have to read the rules. You have to play by the score sheets and intertwine that into your presentation.
It's funny though.
Or vice versa.
I was like, it's funny though, because the inverse is there's a lot of people, like you're talking about like the people that come in and just try to do the message stuff, but they don't focus on the coffee. Because I've now gotten to the point that I've gotten to in coffee, I interact with so many people that do the exact opposite, that are so about the coffee that the message don't matter. They're so about the coffee that there's no soul in their routine. And like, you know, I'm not gonna call nobody out. I'm not taking shots at anyone. But like for me, I've had this debate for a while where it's like, why does it matter? Like at the end of the day, you're getting up there to showcase you know how to make coffee well. Like if we're gonna talk about like who the best technical barista is, the score sheet doesn't match that yet. It doesn't, because it'll be your tech scores, and it would be like extraction theory and like how you steam your milk. You know, like
I mean, people come up to me and it's like, oh, so you're the best barista in the country? I'm like, nope.
No.
I was the best barista that day out of this many baristas that competed
according
in this
to these four
competition.
Judges.
You know?
You feel me? So like for me, it's like it bugs me to see the routines that are so like, this is what I got to watch work when I went to YouTube, when I went to the SCA website, when I went and watched other competitors. This is what they did that worked. And it's like you're so focused on winning and so focused on like what technically goes together that you miss the heart of this. Like at the end of the day, coffee's always been a ceremonial thing. At the end of the day, coffee has always been a cultural thing. At the end of the day, it's always been a way for people to fellowship and interact. So for me, there is so much of this that is, how do I tap into the heart of what it is that we're doing? And I will do my best and use my skill set to hope that the coffee stuff comes along with it. And I will try my best to not do a routine if I can't also at least somewhat match it with like the quality of the work.
Yeah.
But I don't care about the science project, technically sound barista routine. I care about how is this going to matter when we're done. So, you know, like how is the things that you said and done here going to be taken outside of this room? Because if not, it's just like, okay, who won the science fair? That's what I feel like happens. Right.
So all this to say, you know, anyone out there listening that wants to get into competition, the prelims, which are happening in a couple weeks, it will go through, I guess, through to December, are a good chance for folks to.
It probably won't go till December, because usually December is like when they do the first quali.
Yeah. But it's a chance
you got
for folks to get into
a couple of months
competition and see if it's something that they want to get involved in.
Yeah.
You know, back when I started competing, we didn't have prelims, we didn't have qualifiers. It was several regionals set up around the country, and those top 6 moved on to nationals. So you had to pay a lot of money to get into competition, so the access wasn't, you know, there for everyone. And that was challenging for people to get, especially people of color, to get into competition. So now we have so many avenues for folks who are marginalized that don't have access to the resources, to the coffees, to the equipment to get into a competition. And that's why the prelims came about, that you just pop up.
And it's also a don't have access right now thing. Because if there's one thing that I did get to learn from you and Kyle that I'm very appreciative of, and it is a piece of advice that I now pass on and help facilitate for a lot of competitors that are coming in brand spanking new to this, is you don't realize how many people are actually willing to help you until you ask.
Yep.
Like I remember like reaching out to y'all and just be like, hey, I got everything set up. Like, let me know when I can come down and come practice with y'all. And Kyle's like, you booked your flight for the competition already? I'm like, yeah. He's like, you booked where you're staying? I'm like, yeah, because I haven't had anyone tell me that someone would help me with that, you know? And hey, you bought all of your wares on your own? Yeah, that shit hurt. I tried to buy all these wares after buying back for school stuff and my daughter's birthday, but like, you know, I got it done and before Christmas, but like, you know, I got it done. And it's like, there are people that are willing to sponsor and help you out, and use your network, use your resources, especially if you have a message that needs to be up there. There are people that want to make sure that message gets seen by the right people. So like you have so many people that are willing to help you. And I didn't know that coming into this. And that's kind of why like I think the prelim setup is dope now, because even my first year when I competed and did prelims, I brought all my wares. I brought milk. I did all of the things that I thought you were supposed to do for competition. And prelims is like, no, just show up. Make the coffee. If you make it well, you can explain it well, you'll be fine. And it really is built for people to have an opportunity to find out whether or not they like it. But someone like me coming from the outside, not knowing the culture of this, I'm just trying to do well. And you don't get to realize that, like, you actually can get a much larger support system than what you think you have, as long as you ask the questions and as long as you reach out. It's not perfect. You won't get everything you want, but it can be a lot easier than what is presented to you based on you seeing the people that win, the people that spend the most money on their routines, so on and so forth. There's still ways for you to do really good. I got 8th in my first year not knowing a damn thing. I got 6th. Yes, I had you in college at this point in time, but I still only marginally knew some stuff, you know? Like, your talent will shine. Your passion will shine.
After prelims, you'll know whether or not you want to do it or not. And
exactly.
And that's when you start to dive into, okay, what coffee do I want to choose for competition? And that's when you have to make that decision. What do you want to use the competition for? What sings out to you when you're looking for a coffee? You know what I'm saying? It's different for everybody, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I always gravitate towards, brightness and sweetness. But there was one time that I was strategic, and it was a time when coffees were getting roasted lighter and lighter. So I went super dark. Is one of Counterculture's darkest coffee blends that they currently have now. And
you talking about that La Forza?
Yeah, that La Forza, presently 46.
Yes, sir.
Shout out to Ken McDuffie. That's one of his favorite coffees in the world.
Duffy, man. Yo, can we get Ken on here?
We ought to get
man?
Ken. Yeah, let's bring
Ken on here.
Word.
This would be the most uncle-ass podcast ever.
Yeah, we should get Ken on the podcast.
What?
Yo, for real.
Make that call, man. I need my boy
All right,
Duffy.
I'm going to call him up. Yeah. Ken, if you're listening, I'm calling you. But yeah, that was a time when I was strategic, so I got the darkest coffee. And it was also a time when the milk round was called the cappuccino round. It was a 5 to 6 ounce cup. They wanted balance in the coffee and milk, and they just wanted 1 ounce of espresso.
How in the hell are you balancing something with only 20%
You cannot do that.
of
And
it?
that was my biggest hang up with competition, with that format, because that's an impossibility. So I cheated. I got 4 ounce cups. Sorry, SCA. Gotcha.
So they coming for that trophy.
It was a risk.
It's gonna be some black SUVs over here for them trophies, brother. Like
because if they felt like it, they could have tested the cups, and then I would have been DQ'd. But instead, I won that regional competition.
Oh, you want to read? I thought you was about to tell me this was
regional.
2016.
Yeah, no, this is not 2016.
I thought we was about to hear one of those.
This is 2009. I've been in it for a minute, and that was 2009.
Okay.
So you ain't coming to get no trophies.
So 2009, what, are they coming to get, like, your championship carrier pigeon or something? Like your championship horse? Like, what was y'all getting for winning back then? Like
keychains and AeroPresses. I don't know, was the AeroPress even invented back then?
Y'all got 2009. Y'all was probably getting a SCA engraved.
Dude, I don't even know.
iPod Mini.
It was Sony Walkman.
Yo,
the yellow joint. Did you ever have one of those?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Waterproof.
Yep.
Rainproof, rather.
Got the Walkman
Don't
so big it's not fitting in your pocket.
Nah, they didn't fit in your pocket. They clipped on.
Yeah. Nah. That Walkman back in the days. You trying to put it in your pocket and it ain't work, so like it stuck all the way out. And then I lived in Brooklyn, so like you can get robbed for that joint. I'll be mad too. Like you get robbed for your Walkman,
start running.
And you only got 1 CD in that mug too.
No, I was talking about the tape.
You talking about the tape one is your era. The CDs is my era. Like that's the thing. Like your Walkman like could fit a tape. Like ours was the
the round joint. Yeah.
So think trying to put that in your pocket and then you get punched upside the head for the Beware Dog album by Bow Wow. Like like it's just never been that serious. And I had a little gold. I had a little gold joint too. So like mine's Christmas, I got mine. Mine was gold. My sister's was red. My sister got the censored version of the Missy Elliott Under Construction album, and then I got this like weird mixtape that was like half Lil Bow Wow, half Lil Romeo. Like it was like a versus mixtape. It was the funniest joint ever. But like, I tried to take that to school with me once. I almost got robbed for it. I was good, but my mom beat the crap out of me because she was like, "Why are you taking this out the house? Like you know what's gonna happen." I'm like, "You right."
So all that to say, man, you know, there's all kinds of ways, you know, you can approach selecting a coffee for competition, if that's your thing, if competition is your thing. So, I mean, I honestly feel that folks should just focus on what makes them happy. You know?
Absolutely.
Whether it's a $100 a pound coffee or a $5 a pound coffee,
you gotta be able to afford it though. But
if it makes you happy. And you can get excited about it. It's all about energy and projecting that energy to the judges and making them have a dope experience, whether they're smiling or not. They got the poker face. You know, Sam Lewington, that dude, man, I'm glad he never judged me. And we were fellow, you know, competitors. Because, I don't know, I would have been shook looking across the counter at that just stone face, like,
he be smiling.
Does he?
He be smiling,
man. Every time I see him, it's like he's got that. What are you doing here? Look.
He be smiling. Sam's so nice, man. Sam be smiling at the people.
Oh man, Sam.
Nah. You already know what I'm about to say.
What? Come on, come with it. Come with it.
You was in Portland.
Oh,
and Jake's up there. Jake's up there doing his routine, man.
Alabama Sam.
Yo, bro. His judges came out, and I looked at Jake. I looked at Sam. I went, that's the same person, yo.
Yeah,
Jake low-key Alabama Sam.
Sam on both sides of the counter at once. All he needed to do was take his glasses off.
No. I was stunned. I was like, wow, that's the same person. And then I went, no wonder me and Jake so cool. That's Sam.
Yeah, Sam.
That's Southern Sam,
that's
baby.
Alabama Sam, yo. That's him right there.
Man, and then I was messed up because I don't like to make jokes that I won't say to the person.
Right.
So I went to Sam during the like waiting time before they announced winners because I knew he judged them. I'm like, hey man, it felt like looking in the mirror when you seen Jake. What? He was like, man, fuck you. It was so mad at me. But Sam, my dude, man. I freaking love him, man.
Yeah. I competed with him for years.
I know.
Yep.
He came in fourth the year you won, right?
Yep. He came in fourth a couple of times.
He came in fourth 4 times. That's why I kept telling him, like, hey, man, all I'm trying to do is win the Sam Lewington Memorial Award. Like, I ain't get that far yet. I got the 6, so,
Right on.
We'll see if I ever do it again. I'll try to go get 4th.
Yeah, it was dope actually being in finals with Sam. Both Sam Lewington and Sam Schroeder.
Sam Lewington. You was up there with Andrea. So you got, that's 4 people. Who the other 2?
There was Trevor Corlett
and Madcap.
And Dev Chapman.
Okay.
Dev Chapman.
Yeah, you had some hitters.
Yeah. They
got some hitters,
like
man.
Dev, Trevor. All of them except me and Andrea had been in finals
before that. Yeah,
it was me and Andrea's first time.
And it's crazy enough, all the veterans came 3rd through 6th.
And that was like, getting in the finals with them, I was like, yeah, I'm definitely getting 6th place. And I was cool with it because that was, that was my goal, was to make finals.
Yeah.
I was in 2015, I had quit. I was done with competition. And then I got a little inspirational trip in Colombia to compete one more time.
Mm-hmm.
And so 2016, my goal was just to make finals for the first time ever, because this was my 8th season, and I felt like it was a good time to end on the number 8 for a lot of reasons. We'll talk about that some other time, but so seeing those heavy hitters in finals, I was like, yeah, I'm definitely getting 6th place here. So it was a huge shocker getting that first place. Reg Barber. Shout out to Reg, man. He made some of the dopest trophies, and I
ain't even gonna lie to you. That's a good part of why I'm not I don't expect to compete anymore. I'm not gonna say whether I will or won't because I feel like somebody gonna clip this, throw it in my face. If I say no and I compete, they're like, you can't leave. If I say yes and then I don't compete, it's like I thought I was gonna see you. So I'm not saying whether I will or won't, but I will say a huge, like, after I got to the point where I understood coffee competition, a huge part of like wanting to win that drum was I want that big John, bro. I want to be able to have it, you know what I mean? Like that trophy different.
Yeah, for real, man. It's
I need
like
that.
Those trophies, I felt like he put a lot. I mean, he put heart and soul into those trophies, man.
As our grandmama say, they put their foot in it.
Yeah.
Like that trophy's so tough, man. Like,
yeah.
Oh, you couldn't have told me nothing on the Delta flight back, bro.
Nah,
I'd have been going crazy.
For real.
What?
I drove to Atlanta and drove back, so I didn't have to take it on a flight, but I did take the World's Trophy on a flight.
See, but
it was so small.
I'm from the East Coast though, so like I'm from the East Coast, and every time I've competed, it's been Midwest or the West Coast for finals. So like, I'm gonna have to get on a flight.
Yeah.
You don't want me on a flight for 6 hours with the trophy. I'm getting all the photos off. I'm getting my Kobe photo where Kobe got the jacket over him while he holding the trophy. Like, I'm getting the Michael Jordan crying after his dad passed and he got the ball in his hand. Like, bro, they don't want me to win, bro, because it's gonna be. They don't want me to ever win this competition.
Yo, the Ireland trophy was green, and after Dublin, me and the family drove around Ireland for a week. And had that trophy with me everywhere.
That's fire.
It was dope.
You know what, man? If I come back, I need to come back the year that like Nationals is somewhere fire, bro. Like, I mean, not Nationals, like Worlds is somewhere fire. Like, I want to win in the Maldives or something. I'm trying to take the trophy on vacation with me.
Right on.
Nah, man. But seriously though, like, it's such a fun it's such a fun experience. When it's what you want to do, when you have something that inspires you. For me, it was never the coffee first. Like, the coffee had to be the like conduit to continue inspiration and like keep me excited about the process. But like the thing that I got up there to say, the thing that I got up to do, that was way more important to me. So like, I'm not a big fan of like, hey, it needs to be the most expensive coffee in the world. I feel like the time that I made the call of like, hey, I'm going to do what I believe wins is the one time my coffee scored the worst. Yeah. So I think if I am to ever come back, it's going to be still pure passion stuff. It's still going to be like what I feel like I can speak on in a way that I am confident in because I enjoy it and because I like personally like have an affinity for it. Yeah. And not because this is what they told me would win a competition, you know?
Yeah, that last one I did was more of like the both ends of the supply chain, the farmer and that barista, who are the the least paid individuals in that right. supply chain, and seeing Jose win the Best of Panama really propelled him and his family farm to another level. Yeah. Because, now, I can't even afford his coffees. Right. You know what I'm saying?
like when I competed in 2020, that was when I felt like I had the best of both. But if you like ask Kyle, like he was like, hey man, I was worried about your coffee when I tasted it like before semis. Like I felt like it fell off. It wasn't as good as it was in Nashville. I was like, I was fine. Yeah. And I made finals. Of course, it wasn't good enough for me to, I don't know if it wasn't good enough or if it was just the fact that I forgot my sick bev calls. But, I got 6 in finals. But at the end of the day, I got to finals. And, like, for me, I think about the fact that me picking a coffee I loved, if you take away the 2020 year, me picking a coffee that I loved and it wasn't supposed to be good for competition, which was that Burundi in 2019, did place-wise, I placed better than I did the year that I picked the coffee that I thought would score better.
Yeah.
I think sitting with that, picking something that you believe in, picking something that like you can stand by, I think goes a longer way.
It does. That's the important part, man, because in Dublin, any coffee, whether it's that really expensive or not expensive coffee, it's going to change. Yeah, it's going to gas out, and it might not be the same when you're on stage serving the judges. We had that so-called God shot of Finca Neguo at practice time the day before going on final stage. It was the best Finca Neguo had ever tasted. ever. I'm talking about Best of Panama 2015, 2016 winning in Atlanta, that first day in Dublin. That one practice was the best that coffee I ever tasted.
Right.
And the next day did not taste the same. Did not taste the same.
That's comp for you, though.
Yeah, that's comp. So choosing a coffee based on what you love about it, how you can get really behind and excited about it is the most important thing. Because for me,
it's like, if my coffee tastes the best it ever could in practice, and it's a coffee I love, even if it don't taste the best it could when I get to the stage, you know what it still tastes? Good enough that I'm excited about it.
Yep, exactly.
I'd much rather be able to go, I think the other one was better, but I'm really happy with what I'm getting to serve you, than the inverse, which is I was only doing this because I thought it was the best, and now it's not tasting like that, and now I'm shutting down from all the other parts of this routine that matter, you know? Because, like, the truth is, I almost made finals with potato defect. That's not to say that, like, I'm some freaking god competitor, but it's like, if you are like passionate enough and excited enough about this and you do your job properly, like the like room for error between a good cup of coffee and a great cup of coffee isn't as large there. It's like that. Like, it's real small. Like, what you do and how you impact people, I think, holds a little more credence than people give credit to. Like, me and Kyle argue about that all the time. He calls it bottomless score sheet points. I'm like, no, I come from competitive worlds where, like, if people like you, you start to see your numbers change a little different because they want to follow you. They want to believe you.
It also goes back to, the cafe. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You can have one of the dopest experiences in a cafe with that professional behind the bar.
Yep.
And the coffee not be so great. But I guarantee you will come back to that cafe.
Exactly. You want to trust them again.
Every single time.
Yeah, you want to trust them again because you feel safe with them.
Yep.
Like, there's so many times where it's like.
Versus a dope coffee at a whack-ass shop.
Yeah, you'd be like, that was cool. I'm not going to.
don't really care about
at
you.
At the very most, you might go back because it's a good experience. You might go back, get it, and take it to go. But, like, those feelings that you have in that space where, like, you really trust those people behind that counter, even if they don't hit it on the head every single time, you trust that they're going to figure it out, you know?
Yep.
Like, you hold a little more space for them, a little more room for error possibilities with them. If you trust them, you like them, you rock with them. So, like, that's kind of how I move with competition. Like, I want to be sure and be passionate about what I feel, because, like, a judge could tell me they don't like my coffee. They can't tell me no one's gonna like it.
Yeah.
So, like,
that's what it's like. You have like 30, 40 seconds to win over that customer when they walk in the door and make an order. You have about 30, 40 seconds in a barista competition to interact with those judges, those 4 judges, and make that connection, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And create that space between you and them, for them. Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to break the fourth wall of competition real quick, because this is something we probably should never discuss.
What's that?
You ever be on stage and know you just secured your score with a judge?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, no matter what you do right now, this judge walking with you?
Yep. And that's what I always do in competition. It's that intro, when I'm making eye contact with each judge, I know I made that connection. And there have been times when it'll be like one judge I haven't made that connection with, and I'll spend the entire 15-minute presentation just trying to connect with that judge. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times it doesn't work, but that's my goal. That first 30 to 40 second intro, I have to connect with these judges so they can trust me, because everything I say after that, they'll believe it. If I don't make that trust connection, everything I say is bullshit. And they're not going to believe it.
So one of the things that I really love that I got to learn from the poetry world is how much every piece of your interaction within a space is part of your score. Like, before you touch that stage, how you move in a room, how people feel about you, yada yada yada. So that was my first time making it to the adult scene National Poetry Slam. I was at a venue that was very, like, closed off. It was very, like, writer centric. Like, you just got to be a great writer to get through there, right? I got through, made the team, whatever. The next year I competed. I was competing at this venue. I was competing in this venue that's, like, their slams happen at Friday nights. It's a very big tourist attraction spot. Like, the best writers don't win. It's the best performers, or the people they like the most. Like that's the kind of like energy that wins in that room. And it taught me how to utilize all of these things that aren't the moment that you're being scored. You know, how do you dress? How do you talk to people during the interview section? How do you move in the room when people still like, so that when they see you go up, they're like, oh, I like them already, you know?
Yeah.
So in barista competition, what that looks like is you're coming to stage, your setup, how you were talking with your bussers, how you're talking with the MC, how you're navigating that, how you even greet people before you call time. So for one example, Nashville 2020, judges come up. Ashley from Red Bay is one of my non-scoring judges. So like it's not like me getting Ashley on my side is gonna do anything for me, you know, score wise to the naked eye. But I always try to throw these Easter eggs in that's like for my people to know, like, yo, I got y'all, right? So before I call time, you know, you check in, you make sure everybody's good, they're ready, right? So I'm just like, ladies, how y'all doing? There's one dude, I was like, fella, you all right? But Ashley caught it because it's the Erykah Badu before she do Tyrone. I'm like, got you. You ain't even scoring me, but everybody's rocking out because they see you like in this space, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, that has nothing to do with what is written on the score sheet as far as what they tell you they're scoring, but you create that moment where,
because we're all human, right?
We're all human. Now,
Yeah.
I am more inclined, if I'm stuck between a 3, 5, and a 4, to go 4 because I like you, you know?
Yep. It's like walking into that cafe. All your senses
need to be stimulated
in that experience because, you know, the first thing, you see the name of the shop when you walk up. You touch that door. You walk in, you hear shit. You hear what's going on, you know? You hear the music. You hear the vibe. You feel the energy in the room.
You smell the pastries.
You smell the pastry. You smell the coffee.
Absolute last thing
is what you're tasting. That's the last thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like everything that comes before that has to impact you. You know, and if it doesn't, then you're gonna lose on that taste experience.
Yeah. Like it's so hard for people to realize that like they're giving themselves a cap before anything that gets scored actually exists, because they like being personable is a thing. Like, you know, making it so that people want to hear more from you. So this is a little bit of a tangent from us talking about how we pick coffees, but it's like all of that plays in part into this. And the last thing ends up being how this coffee impacts. Not to say that it is the least important, but it is. There are all these other things that are curated around, which means when you get to your coffee, if you've done whatever that work is to make sure your coffee matches everything else you've done, it can skyrocket.
Yep.
Because Kyle swore my coffee fell off and wasn't going to be good enough to get me to finals. He was very upset, and I didn't know this until afterwards because he was trying not to psych me out. We didn't know each other as well as we do now. So, like, these are all, like, after-the-fact conversations where he was worried about psyching me out. But I'm like, no, I know that I've done all of these other things that even if I can't tell this coffee is falling off the way that you think it is, I know that I have the grace of the people that I am presenting to, that we're going to figure this out together.
Yep.
And I didn't serve bad coffee or anything like that at nationals, but like, it's a little different when like you're on the fence of like, how much do I like this? The way that you interact in these spaces, you can push those unspoken points up. You know?
Yep. And it's a good feeling, man, when you pull it all off. You know what I'm saying? You're like, oh yeah, I knew this. I knew this coffee was dope.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's not like I'm not saying this straddles the difference between not a good coffee and a good coffee. Like, you still need to pick a good coffee. Let's just keep it a stack. Like, if you pick a bad coffee, you're gonna score bad. This is not how you go from not good to good. This is how you go from good plus to great.
Yep.
This is how you navigate those small little things, those small little nuances that everyone likes to focus on. Is why they hand sort their coffee, why they do all of the like crazy, quirky, it needs to be distributed this way, ground this way, at this temperature, chill the portafilter, da-da-da-da. All of those are things that you were doing to try to get from good to great. And there are so many things that you can do to get you from good to great that happens before you even start this routine. So,
but if you're not having fun with it, don't do it.
mm-hmm.
And a prelim is the best way to find out if you can have fun with it or not.
Because that's when you get to do it and have the least amount of stress. So
yeah, that's why I did it for 8 seasons, because I had fun with it. It was fun.
Hey, man.
I wanted. You get only 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And after that 15 minutes is over, you want a little more. Just a little bit more. One more time.
Yeah. So because you're clearly done with the competing side of it, we will see. The jury's out when it comes down to me. You still interact with this space a lot.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
What is the thing that makes you still have fun with it?
I just enjoy seeing people click on stage, because you can see when someone's in it, when they're feeling it and they're having a good time.
Yeah.
They picked a coffee that they really love and they're excited about it. You can see it. You can feel that energy.
Right.
That's what keeps me excited about competition.
Okay.
That's what, seeing the potential for these coffee ambassadors to grow, because the more, people out there, really advocating for the other side of coffee, those farmers that we don't really see, using their platform to deliver a message that, we need to hear. The more we see that and experience that, the more excited I get,
Word. All right, man.
Word.
I think we hit the nail on the head, man.
Yeah.
We just finished another episode of the 95 Plus podcast. Thank y'all so much for coming out
real.
here.
Thanks for checking
listening
us out.
to us. We trying, at the end of the day, me and Lem are two coffee people that's just trying to have a good time, that enjoy talking to each other. And we're glad that you guys get to come in and sit in on these conversations with us. So thank you once again. We're going to see y'all soon next week. Another dope episode.
Sir.
Got some more surprises for you. 9-5, everybody.
Peace. 2 times.
2 times.